Let's talk about Pokémon. It's a game franchise that's existed for 26 years across 38 main series games, soon to be 40, and yet they all follow largely the same formula. There's very little variance between the titles, or dare I even say, evolution. And yet sales continue to be through the roof. People do not stop playing these games. Why is that? Sure, yeah, it's probably something to do with the huge cast of cute, whimsical creatures, the fun modern fantasy setting with vague enough characters to be able to picture yourself in the game, the satisfaction of a collectathon combined with the simple but engaging rock, paper, scissors battle mechanics. And yeah, it might have something to do with the enormous media franchise of anime, manga, spin-off games, trading card games, skateboards, perfumes, chopsticks, beds, and plushies. But I want to focus on just one element of the games that keeps people coming back for more. The replayability. So here's my question. How many different ways can you play Pokémon? Okay, so that's a pretty big question. So to be more specific, I want to know how many times you can play through a single game of Pokémon with a different team. Now, because this is still a surprisingly complicated question to answer, I want to make this as simplified as possible. In order to do that, I'm going to need you to come with me on a trip back in time. Whoa! The year is 1998, Posh and Bex have just got engaged, and the Furby is unleashed on an unsuspecting world. And this young scamp, let's call them Howard Pringle, Destroyer of Worlds, has just been gifted a copy of Pokémon Blue to play on their brother's Game Boy. Just how many different ways can Howard create a team? And yes, I'm very sorry, but this is going to involve a little bit of maths. So, what have we got to work with? There are 151 Pokémon in the Generation 1 games to choose from, but we can immediately exclude a whole bunch of those on the grounds that we only have one game, one Game Boy, and no friends to trade with. So let's start by getting rid of the version-exclusive Pokémon that aren't available in Blue. So sorry Howard, that means no Growlithe, Vileplume, or Electabuzz for you. We also lose access to these 4 Pokémon that evolve by trade. Now, we could theoretically bypass all of these restrictions by taking advantage of one of the myriad glitches and exploits available in the Generation 1 games, but let's assume that we've not yet picked up on any of those tricks on the playground. That of course means bye-bye Mew. This takes our total down to 135. Since we only have access to one game, and by the in-game lore, Pokemon breeding somehow hasn't been discovered yet,
How did I get...
we also have some choices that we need to make. We have to choose one starter. We'll go ahead and choose Charmander. Sorry, we'll choose Squirtle. Obviously we choose Squirtle. Squirtle is the best option. Ding, it's Squirtle. Put your glasses on.
Squirtle.
Much better. In Mount Moon, this nerd lets us take one fossil, and since the Church of Helix hasn't yet been founded, we're going to take the Dome fossil, because Kabutops is just way edgier. In Celadon City, we can steal an Eevee from this unsuspecting scrap, and we're going to choose to evolve them into Jolteon for very similar reasons. After embarrassing the master of the fighting dojo in Saffron City, we get to choose either a Hitmonlee or a Hitmonchan as spoils. We're going to take Hitmonlee because, I don't know, we love potatoes. This has taken our total pool of potential teammates down significantly, but to take it down further we can make some assumptions about what kind of player Howard is, and Howard Pringle, Destroyer of Worlds, knows that the best armies need both strength and versatility to succeed. So just like all the strongest trainers in the game, we're only going to be forming a full team of 6, using only fully evolved Pokemon and no duplicates. We can take this a step further and say that Howard really doesn't see the point in having any duplicate types on the team either, so we'll only be using one fire type and one water type, etc. And we can make this easier for our calculations later, yes, the maths is still coming, don't worry, by choosing a single Pokemon to represent each unique type in the game. This takes our total right the way down to just 31 potential recruits. As a fun side note here, we could take this one step further still and say that we want a team with 12 different types on the team using only dual type Pokemon. But weirdly, without access to Gengar, there actually is no combination of Pokemon that we can use in Generation 1 that fit this criteria. So, this is what we're left with the most restrictions I could think to add to give us the smallest possible answer to our question. 31 fully evolved Pokemon, all with unique typings, to make up our team of 6. How many ways can we form this team? Now I want to know your predictions for this too, so pause the video here, go down to the comments and let me know what you think the answer to our question is going to be. Now is it? Oh yes, it's maths time. So what we're actually working out here is a combination without repetition. There's a formula we can use for this, usually written in shorthand in big brackets like so, as n take r, n in our case being the number of Pokemon we have in our pool to choose from, so 31, and r being the number that we're choosing, 6. To work this out, we expand this out to become n factorial over r factorial times the factorial of n minus r. If you've not seen factorials used before, this just means that we multiply the number by every positive integer lower than that number. So for 6, that means 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which gives us 720. And if we do the same thing for 31, that gives us 8 decillion, 222 nonillion, 838 octillion, 654 septillion, 177 sextillion, 922 quintillion, 817 quadrillion, 725 trillion, 562 billion, 880 million. So yeah, you might see why I wanted to make this number as small as possible before working this out. This does still leave us with one problem though. This formula doesn't account for the extra restriction we set to not include any duplicate types in our team. And to be honest, this is already way above my understanding of maths to be able to take this any further on my own. So instead, we can turn to my absolute new favourite website, the Permutations and Combinations Calculator on mathsisfun.com. Here we can plug in all of our numbers and define our own rules to give us a definitive answer to our question. How many times can Howard Pringle, Destroyer of Worlds, age 6, play a game of Pokémon Blue with a different team each time, consisting of 6 fully evolved, legally obtained Pokémon, each with unique typings? The answer is, drumroll, 17,672. So we've got our big number, but let's try and put this into real world terms. If our young protagonist were to try and take on the challenge of playing every single one of these games, how long would that take? If we use the website howlongtobeat.com as a guide, we know that the average player of Pokemon Red and Blue takes about 26.5 hours to complete the main story. If we assume that Howard Pringle has accrued enough wealth from the destruction of worlds to never have to get a job, and instead spends 18 hours every day just playing Pokemon, it would take 71 years to complete the challenge, or just over the average lifespan of an African elephant. So, there we go. Does that answer our question? Yeah, I suppose so. But am I satisfied? No, absolutely not. I want to see how far we can take this. No more restrictions, no making this as easy as possible. Let's see how many times you can play the ultimate game of Pokemon. Let's watch that number get bigger and bigger and bigger. But for that, you'll have to join me next time. As a fun bonus, mathsisfun.com lets you download a CSV file that lists all 17,672 possible combinations we generated. So if you wanted for some reason to fact check me on this, or if you want to try and run through the game using these restrictions yourself, I've left a link to a Google spreadsheet in the description that will list every single one of these teams. Any in-game footage you see in this video is from a run through I made using team number 395, a pretty well balanced team that had me using a surprising amount of Beedrill. If you do run a playthrough with one of these teams, let me know which one you use and how you get on. Until next time, bye!